Hey everyone, Wandering Bard here, and today I'm going to be doing a deep dive character analysis of Final Fantasy XIII's leading lady, Claire Farron, aka Lightning. This is going to be the first of many character analyses, starting with characters in the Final Fantasy XIII trilogy, and then expanding out to other games and even other series as I get more content under my belt. So if you enjoy these types of videos, please consider liking this one and subbing to the channel if you want to see more videos as they come out. Lightning in particular is a character I've been really looking forward to doing a video for. I've gotten to defend her character a bit during my retrospective videos for the Final Fantasy XIII trilogy, but I've never gotten to do a full deep dive into her character arc and her whole struggle with overcoming loss and learning to be vulnerable again. So in this video, I'm going to be tackling her character from that angle, and I really hope you enjoy. Before I start though, I want to give a bit of background on this world for anyone who's not familiar. The world of Final Fantasy XIII is kind of split into two worlds: the visible realm, aka the realm of the living, and the unseen realm, aka the land of the dead, which is filled with chaos. The visible realm is, for lack of a better word, managed by these mechanical, crystal-powered beings called fal'Cie, who were created by the gods Pulse and Lindsay. The fal'Cie created by Lindsay are charged with creating and maintaining Cocoon, a floating artificial world in the sky, while the land below, Grand Pulse, is run by Pulse's fal'Cie. fal'Cie are able to brand unwilling servants called l'Cie, who are granted magical powers and charged with a focus, a task they have to complete. Completing the focus grants the l'Cie eternal rest and crystal, but failure turns them into a Seath, a mindless crystal zombie. The fal'Cie of Cocoon and Grand Pulse are enemies of each other, and so xenophobia is rampant on both worlds as of the beginning of Final Fantasy XIII. As the trilogy progresses, we move beyond the fal'Cie and get caught up in struggles between the gods themselves, notably Etro, the goddess who maintains the cycle of life and death, and Bunavelsa, who is Final Fantasy's version of capital G God.
Her loneliness, her fear, that little bit of your soul that you couldn't accept.
It feels kind of weird to start this video by going into the last game of the trilogy, but Lightning Returns actually explores Lightning's childhood struggles more than the other games do. Most notably, it introduces us to Lumina, and understanding who Lumina is, or rather how she is crucial to understanding Lightning. By the time the players reach this point, we know from the original 13 that her parents died when she was young. According to her, she had to be strong for Serah, her little sister, and so she tried to forget her past. She became Lightning, thinking to change who she was in order to be strong, and tried to cut away the parts of herself that she felt made her weak. In Lightning Returns, after the world was swamped by chaos, her emotions were cut away, and they took advantage of the chaos to create Lumina. I know this is all kind of confusing if you're not familiar with the lore. Just understand for now that Lumina is essentially the manifestation of Lightning's emotions, and specifically the things that she hates about herself, that she tried to cut away from herself. This particular detail doesn't come up until late in the series, but Lightning's struggles with vulnerability, emotional maturity, and self-acceptance are ones that define her character, and I'll be referencing this a lot during this video.
We interrupt this program to bring you an urgent Sanctum bulletin. Late last night, officials confirmed the presence of a Pulse fal'Cie inside the city of Bodhum. Acting with fal'Cie Eden's approval, authorities declared a state of emergency. The entire district will be quarantined in response to this crisis. This is a Sanctum bulletin. Late last night, officials confirmed the presence of a Pulse fal'Cie inside the city of Bodhum.
When we're introduced to Lightning in Final Fantasy XIII, she's a soldier working for the Sanctum, the government of Cocoon, but her hometown of Bodhum is being purged. This is because Anima, a Pulse fal'Cie, was found in Bodhum, and the xenophobia in Cocoon is so high that the people believe Bodhum's citizens have been tainted by Pulse and want all of them removed from Cocoon along with the fal'Cie. But said fal'Cie has kidnapped Serah and branded her as a l'Cie. In order to save her sister, Lightning joins the Purge and fights her way through the Sanctum troops toward the fal'Cie. And man, is this introduction awesome.
good. They all want to fight.
Good for them.
Lightning here is a cool, extremely adept soldier who takes no prisoners. She's also not very emotionally mature. I'm no psychologist by any means, but I think it's quite clear in retrospect that a lot of this has to do with her having no parental figure for most of her life. She's never had anyone to raise her or help her learn to process her emotions, and even now at the age of 21, the only person she really seems to look up to is her commanding officer, Lieutenant Amadar. There's a really small moment between them in a flashback that I want to highlight, because I think it says a lot about the two of them and about Lightning's relationships in general. In this scene, Amadar is teasing Lightning about wishing on fireworks while on guard duty, and does this little nudge here, being playful with her. This is a really small moment, but later in the game we see Lightning do almost the exact same thing with Hope, twice.
Oh, my. You'll be okay. I'll keep you safe.
Lightning. Me too. I mean, at least I'll try. I'll try to watch out for you two. I'm scared.
We understand. You're not gonna go through this ordeal alone, you know. Huh?
Both of these occasions are where Lightning is basically in big sister mode with Hope, and it strikes me that she's taking inspiration from what few affectionate gestures she's received in life because, frankly, she hasn't had many. She didn't have a parent, she had nobody to help her mature and learn to process her emotions, and she's had to look after Serah. The result is that by growing up too fast, Lightning hasn't really gotten to grow up, and it shows a lot here when Serah turns to Crystal and Lightning essentially loses her only remaining family. Nobody would be able to take that well, but Lightning's response is to lash out like a child looking for someone to blame. She blames Anima, the Fal'Cie, and tries to destroy it, and well, look how that turned out. She lashes out at Snow for failing to protect her, while conveniently ignoring the fact that she didn't even try. And the problem is that in the intervening time, when she's running from the Sanctum troops, she doesn't get time to think and process what's happening. Instead, she starts to brood, and this is around where she has that flashback of herself and Amadar, which continues to show Amadar offered to write her a letter of recommendation for officer training, promising her a promotion and a better future. Not long after, Lightning proclaims her contempt for the Sanctum as a whole for being puppets of the Fal'Cie, and resolves to destroy Eden, the Fal'Cie that sustains Cocoon and which authorized the Purge. Ironically enough, this actually turns out to be her focus, but at the time she doesn't know this. She's lashing out, not only in anger, but from a sense of fear and abandonment after losing her old life and her safety with the Sanctum.
So, what are you gonna do?
Destroy it.
Wait for me! I'm going with you.
What ultimately saves her from destroying herself and possibly the rest of the world is that Hope, who wanted to get stronger in order to confront his own demons, chose to follow her along. Lightning's relationship with Hope starts out rocky to say the least. Initially, she is gentle with him, and she tries to convince him to stay with the others as her path poses incredible risk, but as they keep going through the Vile Peaks, she gives in to frustration as he can't keep up with the pace that she wants. She looks down on him as weak, which he admittedly is, but she's too focused on her end goal, so she sees Hope as a liability. She's about to leave him behind, and then...
I don't have time to baby you. You want to get tough? Do it on your own! This cannot be happening. Look out!
So this thing, Odin, is an Eidolon, a being that Lashing can summon after defeating them and taming them in battle. Eidolons first appear before Lashing when they're emotionally low or conflicted, forcing them to either snap out of their slumps and fight, or else putting them out of their misery, as it were. In Lightning's case, when she abandoned the party and set off on her quest to destroy Eden, Vanille's retrospective commentary says that Lightning was struggling, reaching out to them, but they couldn't see it. For the first time, we see her despairing over the constant pursuit from the Sanctum, saying the whole world is against them and she can barely keep herself alive. She's trying again to suppress her emotions, but now she's trying to convince herself not to care about Hope. And deep down, Lightning has always cared. Notably about Serah, but I think she does care about the others as well, as she again does show when Hope first tried to come with her. Right now, she's frustrated and conflicted, and if she had abandoned Hope here, she would have gone down an even darker road emotionally than she's ever been. Her conflict over what to do is what summons the Eidolon. And thankfully, battling Odin gives her a chance to vent her anger and emotionally center herself again. It also gives Hope a chance to show his fighting spirit, so she doesn't abandon Hope, and she actually kind of takes the kid under her wing as they keep going.
Mom?
Not by a long shot.
Actually, why don't you let me take point?
Can you handle it?
It's not a question of can or can't.
Now you're learning. Keep your eyes front. I'll watch the rear.
Got it.
So right here is where we start to see the walls coming down a bit for Lightning. She's showing more of her emotions, but what's really important for her, at least in the short term, is that the walls are coming down for Hope too. And as they go through the Gupper Whitewood, they start to open up to each other. Hope explains why he's so desperate to become strong, which is to avenge his fallen mother, and Lightning in turn talks about how she was in a similar place after her own parents died. Lightning sees herself in Hope, and that's important because it gives her an outside view of their situation and on the path that she's leading him down. And as she sees how needlessly self-destructive her path is, she begins digging down to the root cause of why she started on this in the first place, which was her sense of fear and loss after losing Serah and being branded OSC.
Hope, listen to me. This Lassie curse, it took everything from me. My future, my dreams. I didn't want to think. So I fought instead. As long as I was fighting, nothing else was real. I was running away. And you, Hope. You got swept along with me.
This is a super important step for Lightning in that she's being more aware of and open about her emotions, but things still aren't better yet. Her situation hasn't changed. She's still OSC, she has no idea what her focus is, she's still racked with guilt about her own part in not protecting Serah, and while she encourages Hope to reconcile with his father in order to find a reason to live, she recognizes that she doesn't have one herself. The turning point for Lightning comes right here when Fang shows her that not all is lost where Serah is concerned.
Your sister. You've got plenty to fight for. Think about it. Don't you want to see Serah after she wakes up? That's your future right there. All you gotta do is survive. It's simple.
Right.
Knowing that she'll be able to see Serah again is what allows Lightning to forgive herself and also to reach out and seek others' forgiveness, notably Snow. And from there, as Hope reunites with his father, the party gets together and they start making a plan, Lightning kind of becomes the protector / big sister for the group.
I'm sure she's fine. Vanille's tougher than I could ever be.
Hope, are you scared?
Yeah, I'm terrified. But I'll be okay.
It was all wrong.
Yeah. You tried so hard to convince us that you even fooled yourself. You've been a total idiot. But still... it saved me. You trusted Serah. Let that faith drive you. It even made me want to believe.
It's starting around here that Lightning's conflict kinda gets folded in with the rest of the groups as they learn the truth of what their focus is, which is to destroy Cocoon, and they puzzle out whether they want to complete it or not. Lightning's pattern of looking after the group does continue here though, even when some of them try to go it alone, and it's also worth noting that Lightning refuses to consider killing millions to save herself, even though it ultimately does mean becoming a Seath. That is, until the goddess, Etro, intervenes, releasing them from their fate as Seath and giving them the new focus to save Cocoon, which they do successfully complete. This ends up being a pivotal moment not only for finishing the story of Final Fantasy XIII, but also for Lightning in particular during the sequels.
That time was lost, yet time continued onward. Divine Etro, go peacefully to your rest. I will stand guard over your legacy.
In Final Fantasy XIII-2, we learn that the goddess's intervention drained her of strength, and the chaos from the unseen realm swept in, rewriting history and dragging Lightning to the goddess's side. Etro reveals her will and her love of humanity to Lightning, who ultimately becomes her champion to shield her from destruction and protect the rest of the world. I know that some people thought it was out of character for Lightning to enter the service of a god after being a l'Cie in 13, but I don't agree. Lightning's rejection of the concept of God in Final Fantasy XIII was due to a sense of fear and loss at first, and then due to the nature of her focus being to destroy millions of lives. But in this case, Etro is the one who maintains the balance in the nurturing cycle of life, and if she should fade, the world would be lost to chaos. The Lightning who chose to go Seath rather than watch millions perish would absolutely side with that same goddess in order to protect the world from destruction. And what we end up with is probably my favorite version of Lightning across the entire trilogy, because this feels like the end result of all her growth across Final Fantasy XIII. She's more powerful than ever, but she's also grown a lot during her journey as a l'Cie, and more recently due to the revelations given by the goddess. She's still growing, but she's a much more mature and complete person than before. Truly the perfect champion to defend Etro. And it's no surprise to me that Caius, who has walked the earth for hundreds upon hundreds of years, calls her the finest opponent he's ever had. Also, I love how everybody basically thinks she's some kind of goddess out of a fairy tale now.
She was covered by silver armor decorated with feathers. She looked just like a goddess out of some fairy tale.
May have been a dream, but it felt as real as you and me talking right now. She looked different, like a goddess out of a fairy tale.
Warrior goddess. Now we cross swords!
What also strikes me is that in spite of being more powerful than ever, Lightning is also now willing to admit that she needs help. What she still struggles with though is letting the walls down emotionally and letting somebody else be strong for her. We see some of that here during the one conversation she gets to have with Serah during the game.
Hey, Lightning. We'll be able to be together again, right? When all this is over?
One thing at a time, Serah.
In spite of everything, Lightning still feels the pressure to stay strong and bear the brunt of the burden herself. Admittedly here, she's gearing up for the toughest fight of her life, so that makes some sense, but she's not willing to let people in. She only has one emotional anchor, which is Serah, so who's going to be strong for Lightning when the world gets yanked out from under her feet? There's nobody there to do it. And then this happens.
Serah, snap out of it! No! No! Serah!
So not only has Lightning lost her only family once again, but she feels personally responsible for it this time because she sent Serah on her journey across time. Serah's death also causes her to lose her focus during the battle with Caius, and while she walks away alive at the end, her losing to Caius is what allows him to spread paradoxes across the timeline. Also, I do want to point out here that Serah only died because she went on her journey with Noel, and she went on that journey because Kaya spread paradoxes in the timeline. But Noel only set off to find Serah after meeting Lightning in Valhalla, which was after the paradoxes happened, but before Lightning lost to Caius? The logic gets really screwy here, and this is exactly what happens when you introduce the idea of a world outside of time.
In Valhalla, time does not flow as it should. Long before we began our battle here, I had already faced her. Now, she sleeps, never to wake.
The point here, though, is that Lightning has nothing left to fight for. Serah is gone, the world has fallen apart, and she has no emotional anchor anymore. The only thing she has left is Serah's last wish, which was for Lightning to keep her memory alive in hopes that they could be together again. In order to fulfill that wish, Lightning voluntarily enters crystal stasis, and she stays dreaming for 500 years while the world slowly drowns in chaos.
Dreaming of the day I might bring her back. I fell into a long sleep. It was a sleep as dark as death. The centuries passed, and each one seemed like an eternity until... one day, the light touched me. I knew what it was. It was God himself, speaking to me. All-powerful, all-knowing, ruler of the world and sky above. Benevelza.
So eventually, when the world is on its last legs and only a few days are left, Benevelza, the capital G god of this mythos, awakens and asks her to be the savior. He empowers her and tasks her with saving souls from this world and bringing them to the new world that he intends to build, with the promise that if she fulfills her mission, she'll have a chance to bring Serah back. But what he also does, as I briefly mentioned at the beginning of this video, is he cuts away her emotions. Spirit, and by extension all emotion, is exclusive to the human race due to them being granted hearts of chaos by Etro. Benevelza can't see into human souls or mold them, so that's why he needs Lightning to do what he can't and save the souls of humanity. But he was able to damage Lightning's soul, making her cold and emotionless, the ultimate servant who focuses on nothing but her mission.
You think you're safe from me? Sure about that?
No. But the clock is ticking on this world, and I've got things to do before time runs out. You don't want to get in my way, Noel. You might still have scruples, but I don't. Not anymore.
Damn it, Lightning! Is this all you are now?
That's right. To save Serah, I'll throw everything else away. I'll even be God's little pawn. No one's gonna stop me from trying. Not even you. You want to find Yule? Then find her in death!
After listening to all of that, you might be wondering, if Benevelza can't see into human souls or mold them, then how on earth can he keep his promise to Lightning and bring Serah back? Well, that's the thing. He can't. But Lightning doesn't realize that, not at first. At first, she doesn't question it, nor does she question why Benevelza took away her emotions. Things start to change kinda around here, where Benevelza briefly presents to her a fake Serah to keep up his pretense. Despite having hardly any of her emotions, Lightning has all of her memories, so she knows who Serah is and that she should feel something upon seeing her. But she doesn't, and she barely cares that she doesn't, and all of that does bother her. I have previously discussed how the non-linearity of the main quest can make Lightning's character arc feel disjointed, but if you do complete the main quests in the preferred order, you actually do get to see Lightning slowly regaining some of her humanity as she saves the souls of her old friends, and she fails to save Caius, but that's not really her fault. She also gets more hints from Lumina and from Yule, who I haven't talked about before in this video, about Benevelza, how he can't see into human souls, how the versions of Hope and Serah that she interacts with are both fake, and that in order to protect what matters to her, she has to betray Benevelza. But with her soul in such a damaged state, she can't confront him, at least not by herself. Only with the power of chaos, which links human hearts together, can she defeat him, and this is where Lightning suppressing her emotions for so long and not being able to be emotionally vulnerable costs her the most.
Oh, did you see that? They want to lend a helping hand, but you're too far. Even though they know what you're really feeling, what you need, they can't do anything for you.
I'm not looking for help from anybody.
Of course you aren't. You're God's hand-picked savior, right? You don't need friends, or even family. That's why you can't find Serah anymore.
Without being able to fully accept herself and bear her emotions, Lightning can't save her own soul. And if she can't save herself, she can't save anyone else either. But she does learn the truth that Brunevelza can't give Serah back to her, and in fact he plans to have Vanille perform the Soul Song, a ritual that will ultimately destroy all the souls of the dead, including Serah. Ultimately, Lightning does stand by her ideals and stops the Soul Song, saving Vanille and Fang's souls in the process. But even after doing this and battling Brunevelza, she can't reach Serah's soul. Only in the critical moment, when she learns who Lumina is and she's about to be abandoned in chaos, does she break down in tears and admit that she needs help. And then something really beautiful happens.
It's okay. We could hear you, Light.
After all of this, after finally recompleting herself, Lightning is able to properly connect with the people she loves and uses the power of chaos to defeat Brunevelza, saving all of humanity in the process. I know some people think that this ending was basically a friendship is magic type of deal, but I feel like they missed the point. Lightning's whole journey was one of self-acceptance, maturity, and letting the walls down emotionally. The conflict in Lightning Returns especially wasn't about monsters and gods and chaos, it was Lightning exploring the depths of her own soul. And I love that it had to happen in stages because that's ultimately true to life. Her journey in Final Fantasy XIII set her on the right path, but she still needed time to fully let the walls down and open up emotionally. Her time as the savior was what helped her learn what she was missing, in that it's okay to need help bearing her burdens. Once she had accepted that, defeating Brunevelza was a given, and she's finally a mature and complete person in herself. And thus ends Lightning's journey. Personally, I would have been curious to see what type of person she would be at the end of it all, in a new world with no more battles to fight. I feel like it would have been an adjustment for certain, but with the smile on her face in that post-credits scene, I'd say she's finally at peace, and I'm really happy to see that. I hope that y'all have enjoyed listening to my deep dive into her character. Let me know down in the comments if you agree with my take on her or what your thoughts are on how she's grown across the trilogy. Please also remember to like the video and subscribe if you enjoy it because there's going to be plenty more of these coming soon. For now though, thank you for watching and I hope you have a good one. I'll see ya.